Hello, my name is Andrew Walker. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer of Evove. I'd like to talk today a little bit about water. Water is something which, of course, is vital for human health. But water also touches on 60% of the world's gross domestic product. It's really important for our economic activity. And so the ability to treat water well, to be able to recycle water and to manage water is absolutely essential, both for human life as well as our economic prosperity. And there are some key factors going on in the filtration of water, and this is where Evove is working. We have to work on making water filtration more energy efficient. When we are processing food and beverages and various things with precious resources, we have to be able to extract more yield using filtration technologies. Water is more and more scarce, and with climate change, this is only being accelerated. When it's dry, we have less water, and when it is flooding, we have too much of it. So we have to be able to tap into unconventional sources of water. And we are moving into the information age, and this is a very thirsty sector. Data centers and semiconductors need a tremendous amount of water. So Evove has set out to make water filtration technologies more efficient. You can see here to the bottom left of the screen how a conventional filter looks like under an electron microscope. And this might be a filter like a reverse osmosis filtration module used for desalination, for example. So you can see clearly that the pores used to filter the water are quite random. This is because of the way they are manufactured. Now on the top right of the screen, you can see how a perfect filtration technology should look like. And we achieve this with additive manufacturing, and that is Evove's role. We have developed the world's first additive manufactured ceramic filtration module, you can see here. And this extremely precise device is able to filter water far more efficiently. We use these filtration modules in a variety of different industries. Let's start with the extraction of lithium. Lithium, of course, is highly necessary for electrical vehicles, for stationary storage for power, and of course, all of our personal devices. And we can extract lithium from geothermal brines and brines coming out of the earth with oil and gas operations using advanced filtration technologies. Secondly, desalination. The world relies very much on desalination, especially in very arid countries like in the Middle East. Here, advanced filtration technologies are responsible for providing all the water for countries like Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. Food and beverages. When we are filtering water for food and beverages, it needs to be extremely pure. But also when we are filtering beverages and food themselves, for example, dairy products, juice, beer, whiskey, the filtration technologies we use are very important for the economic efficiency of producing our food and our beverages. Then industrial water treatment. We need a lot of water to manufacture all the goods which we consume. And in that process, we need to make sure that any water which is used is not discharged into the environment without it being fully safe. So here, filtration technologies do a good job to remove contaminants. But even more in industrial water, it's important to try and achieve circularity. So to try and keep the water within a factory, zero liquid discharge is the phrase used there. And here we need very advanced filtration technologies again. And lastly, semiconductors, and data centers. Did you know that 100 ChatGPT searches requires 1 liter of water? Think about how many millions of ChatGPT searches are going on all the time, and how much water that consumes in order to cool the data centers where this information is being processed. In semiconductors, 1 wafer, 1 chip requires about 4,000 liters of water. There are tremendous amounts of water needed for our information age. Thank you.
Andrew, thanks so much for that. Fascinating to learn just how broadly water is used in the global economy. I had no idea. I'd like to ask you a couple of questions, if that's okay. And I think the big announcement this week, of course, is your partnership alliance with Kurita Industries, which is a very well-known company in Japan. Perhaps you could talk a little bit about how that alliance came about and kind of why it's a good strategic match for you guys and for Kurita as well.
Well, Kurita is very renowned also globally outside of Japan in the water sector as being a provider of excellent solutions for water treatment, water processing. And so when Evove, which provides, if you like, some core technologies within water treatment, is looking to partner with companies, we look to really try and partner with the very best in their respective sectors. So Kurita for us was a natural choice to try and work with them. At the same time, Kurita has a big role to play in the transition to the new energy economy that we've been talking about, with water very much a part of that new energy economy. We can touch on that perhaps in a moment. So the excellent engineering, systems, and the services that Kurita offers around the world are really, really key for that. So really having high-tech, deep-tech water filtration technologies matched with a master of water process engineering is quite a natural thing to do. Now, at the same time, Evove has developed the use of our technology in the lithium sector in direct lithium extraction. And in fact, we're probably worldwide, even though we're a small company, recognized as one of the top DLE, direct lithium extraction, solution providers worldwide. And Kurita saw its role as well in helping in that sector, in wanting to move into that sector. And so for them, they also chose one of the better technology companies in that realm. So it's a match really of good companies. We also have a great common philosophy, and I'd be happy to share some more details of that.
Thank you. Right. Yes, of course, lithium is direct lithium extraction is the key here. And in fact, I think there's already a customer or another partner in the UK called Northern Lithium. But perhaps for some of the audience that don't know that much about lithium, could you just basically explain what is direct lithium extraction and kind of why is it important in this day and age?
So the crazy thing about electrical vehicles is that the batteries that are put into those vehicles already travel all around the world before the car leaves the sales forecourt. So lithium today is typically mined in a very conventional way from hard rock in places like Chile, Canada, Australia, China. And then a lot of it is sent to China, where roughly 80% of the world's lithium is refined before it goes into a battery. And so the Volkswagen Group, for example, did a study and compared their own electrical vehicles with our own diesel combustion engine vehicles and found out that over the life cycle of that vehicle, in fact, the carbon emission footprint is only marginally better for electrical vehicles because of this crazy supply chain for the batteries.
Right.
Now, the good news is that lithium is available really almost everywhere where we have hard rocks like granite. And so it leaches out of those rocks over thousands of years into the deep aquifers. And we can access those aquifers, which we tend to do anyway when we're producing geothermal energy, when we're producing oil and gas. And in some cases, it's quite close to the surface. We can, in fact, filter out the lithium and other minerals. Lithium is the most interesting one. From those brines, salty waters, we need very advanced filtration technology to do so. But what that creates is then a local supply, a very sustainable lithium, which has basically just been extracted using very low footprint water processing technologies. And you touched on Northern Lithium. In fact, they are a very early mover in the UK and Europe and will be amongst some of the first producers of lithium from this new DLE technology. And their brine comes up from only about 500 meters under the surface. So they just dig fairly normal water well, and we can house our DLE solution in literally a farmer's shed. So, in fact, you won't even notice that there is some kind of water extraction going on at that site. There's a very environmentally friendly and also economically sustainable way of creating a local lithium source.
So that's really game-changing, for a variety of reasons, as you touched on. Shocking. I've heard this statistic about EVs, but that really puts it in clear. Think about the supply chain of lithium moving around the world, and it's very clear. So if we take a step back and think about, we've talked about the sort of new energy economy, the energy transition, away from fossil fuels towards more environmentally friendly ways of doing things. What is the big picture for you guys there? What else is out there in other than kind of lithium direct lithium extraction?
Well, transition to a more sustainable economy really does have water at the heart, even more so probably than the previous, if you like, fossil fuel economy. And so being able to provide ultra pure water for green hydrogen production, for example, we need a tremendous amount of water to do that. We need to purify it to a very high level for the electrolyzers which are used for green hydrogen production. Water treatment technology is key for that. When we talk about data centers, I mentioned just before, cooling systems we need in all the data centers which are popping up like mushrooms all over the world. That cooling water is essential for operations. And in fact, the major limitation for data centers expanding is water. And in many parts of the world, local communities have even prevented data centers being installed because of the water scarcity in that region and the fact that they are concerned that water will be taken away from their own domestic uses. So if we, excuse me.
Go ahead.
So if we look at some areas where we have unconventional water sources and think about where high-tech industries for the future can come into play, we have a very interesting intersection between fossil fuels and the new energy economy. For example, in the US, in the largest oil field, the Permian Basin, West Texas and New Mexico, the oil and gas is produced there, but at the same time, for every barrel of oil or gas, you get several barrels of water. In fact, that basin itself is projected to be producing every day 5 million cubic meters of water. That's a tremendous amount. Enough, for 5 million citizens, essentially. So we can take that water when it comes out of the oil and gas fields. We can purify it. In the process of purifying it, we also can remove critical minerals like lithium and then take the purification level to such high extent using filtration technologies that it is suitable for high-tech industries, data centers, semiconductor manufacturing, gigafactories for electrical vehicles. And this is a fantastic opportunity for West Texas and for New Mexico to take some fantastic resources they have, the water in this case, use their human resources, a very good skilled workforce, good infrastructure, and to build high-tech industries which will be more important for our immediate future.
Fascinating. So what I'm hearing is that it solves some of the environmental problems that we're facing, but in the examples you've given, these are also projects of high commercial interest. You're improving the economics, in some cases, improving circularity. And in this case, the last case you've given, you're actually adding potentially additional revenue stream or additional value to existing operations. So fascinating to hear that how you can be more sustainable, but also achieve commercial viability at the same time. Just finally,
sustainability has to cover economics.
It has to cover,
as well as the environment. It's to go hand in hand.
Yeah, economics and sustainability, especially now in this day and age, right? In this year, especially. But this is a great example of how those two things can be complementary. Just in the last minute or so, or a couple of minutes, obviously I'm in Japan, you're in Singapore, but this is really a partnership with Creators, how we started this conversation. But why Japan for you guys? And I guess then take a huge step back. What do you think Japan has to bring to the table in this new energy transition?
Well, Japan thinks long term, and we noticed probably about 2 years ago quite a significant shift in the philosophy and strategy when it comes to lithium. And all of the partners we were working with, whether that be technology partners, engineering partners, trading houses, and customers, they started to really have joined up thinking when it came to lithium specifically. And so when we were looking for partnerships, Caritas has a very important philosophy which relates to the circularity we've been talking about. And I'll read it out in English. It says, to study the properties of water, to master them, and to create an environment in which nature and humanity are in harmony. And that philosophy really spells out exactly what we need and what we've been talking about so far in our conversation. So we can link on a strategic level, very long term, and we can link as well on a philosophical level in terms of ethics and morals. When we're developing deep technology like we have done, this takes many years to become commercially viable. You need to think very long term. You need to have very important skills to be able to develop this. Skills in material science, computational fluid dynamic engineering, skills in how technology can be applied. And we found a really good correlation in the technological skills, in the long-term strategy, but also in the philosophy with many Japanese entities, and especially with Caritas.
I think that's brilliant. The philosophical alignment, thinking about of Japan in terms of more longer-term investments, and the engineering, the raw engineering talent Japan has to bring to the table. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Andrew. If any of our listeners want to get in contact with you or talk to Evove, what's the best way to reach out?
Probably through our website, which is evove.tech, evove.tech, and there is a contact form there, and I'd be very happy to carry on the conversation.
Excellent. Andrew, thanks so much for your time. I know it's a busy day for you. Thanks again.
No, thank you very much. Arigatou gozaimasu.